Hello, welcome to ClayChat. It's been a long time. We speak to Martin today. Martin's going to tell us about his history, his ceramic journey. I don't want to give too much detail. He will share it all with us. Martin, over to you. Can you start where you were born? Before you started with ceramics.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Rika, and thank you for having me. And hello to everyone. I was actually born in Namaqualand, in the little mining town called Nababib. There's different ways to pronounce that, but I say Nababib. Some say Nababib. So there's a discussion about that. And the reason for that is my father was a geologist previously, and he worked at the OCC, the Oakip Copper Company, a small town close to Nababib and to Springbok. And then when I was 2, we moved to Alexander Bay, which is basically on the border of South Africa and Namibia. We worked at Alexcor, diamond mining company, and this was 1984. I was born in 82, and then I matriculated there in 2000. And by that point, my father was 46, and he said he had enough of the mines, and we moved back to our family farm where I'm living now. And this is the farm where my father was born, and he was raised here. And my parents met here in Bredasdorp, and they got married here. And so he was away for 23 years and was fortunate enough to come back again beginning 2001. And yeah, we started farming then, and he had no knowledge about it. So he basically taught himself, and I with him. And during 2001, I was obviously first year out of school, and I had some ideas growing up what I wanted to do. And I found myself in a place where I wasn't so sure about it anymore, because I always thought, look, we're going to go back to the farm one day and I'm going to become a farmer. So it's either going to be a farmer or a pilot, one of those two things. And during that year, I sort of discovered, but you sort of grew older and life changed and you have a different perspective maybe or whatever. And I've always liked drawing, and I've realized that perhaps I like drawing aircraft and different things more than I would like to fly them. And so my brother said something about graphic design, which isn't something that I was aware of at that point. And I did some research and found there's a college in Paarl, which is part of, or still is part of the Boland College branch. And I enrolled beginning 2002 with the idea to do graphic design and painting. And I wasn't aware of ceramics more than, normal cups and plates and stuff in your home that you would use. I suppose that everyone has, and you grow up with everyday objects that's unassuming, just standing around, or that's what I thought. And so I started 2002, and quickly I realized that I wasn't too sure that I was going to pursue painting. We had to finish the graphic design course and drawing and history of art, so you could make a choice between painting and ceramics. So I chose ceramics. Our first year was mainly hand building, coil pots, slab boxes, and mainly working with slips and a little bit of glazing, but not so much. And above all wonders, I passed my first year, which was amazing. And I was told that I can come back. And this was end of 2002. So I went back second year, and then we went onto the wheel. And I think I wasn't too sure yet what I wanted to do, but I was grateful that I passed and I could go back. And I think when I went onto the wheel, something I think sparked for me, realizing this is what I should do. It took me a few months still to really realize that, but yeah. And then also we started more intensely with glaze chemistry. And I think what caught me about ceramics was the glaze chemistry and the marriage between clay and glaze and different firing techniques, because I suddenly became aware there's electric kilns and there's kilns with an open flame, whether it's gas, oil, paraffin, or even diesel. And then obviously wood firing and salt or soda firing and pit firing, all these different disciplines of firing ceramics. And in our second year, we had to focus on functional work. So there was different things you have to do for sort of projects, like dinner plates and then jugs and a tea set and so forth. And again, I passed my second year, which was amazing. And by the end of that year, I realized, look, so I need to sort of have a plan maybe. So I started thinking, well, if I do pursue this, then I would need to figure out where I would like to have a studio. And at that point, I wasn't too sure that I should come back to our farm, because it's, say, 2.5 hours from Cape Town. And I thought, well, that's a bit remote, but, I wasn't too sure then. Anyway, I went back for my third year, which was 2004. And in our third year, we went on to porcelain, which is obviously a bit more difficult. And also, what made it very difficult is in Paarl, which is 40, 42 in summer. So you can imagine when you work with porcelain, you throw a mug, and you quickly go to the bathroom and you come back and you want to touch a handle and you can't. It's just too dry, So that was really sort of a hard learning curve, where stoneware or earthenware clays was different. And because in that year, Ralph Johnson, who was my teacher, also said to me, but do you think I should maybe get into making big pots? Which to me at that point was a foreign concept, because we were only focusing on smaller things. And he went into his office and he got a book. I think the book's name is South African Potters or something like that. And he showed me this guy, Digby Hoots, in Midrand. And he said that he knew Digby, and he did pottery classes with Digby in the late 70s. Ralph, and he was a dentist, and as a hobby, he went to Digby for pottery classes just to relax. And then when Ralph was 40 in 1980, he sold his practice and he went back to university to study art, and with ceramics he majored, and he ended up in Paarl. So I met him there. And I think when I realized these big pots, I thought to myself, because I've always liked history, I thought I couldn't believe there's still people in this time and age that are still making these big pots. It looked like something out of a history book, but yet there's this man that lives in Johannesburg today, or 2004, and today still making these pots and selling them. So it looked like something from the past, but yet it brings them into the future. And I think when I saw them and that type of pots, it sort of reminds you of the past, but it sparks something of the future, to a certain extent. And I suddenly became aware of ash glazes and these reduction fire type of glazes, the Mokos and Celadons and all those types of things. And I finished my third year and I passed. And then the college offered a fourth year for art students. You can come back for 2 more years as an intern, and you can still work in the pottery studio every day. You pay a small fee to be there, and you can just start your career, because you've suddenly studied 3 years and you have all this knowledge. And that was the point where I was in beginning of 2005. So what now? What will you do? So I knew what type of work I wanted to do, and I was obviously, the wheel was the thing for me. And Ralph taught us how to design and mix and apply our own glazes. And I think that was the big thing, and still is today. That is very helpful for me. The fact that I can, mix my own glazes. If I need to have a matte black or whatever, I can mix it and test a few times, and you can sort of get it right. So that helped a lot. And I lived in a small flat in Paarl, and I just finished studying ceramics or art and design, and I passed. And what will I do now? So I just continued doing what I've been taught. Just started making normal functional work, and stacking up, because there was no clients at that point, and nobody knew who I was. So everywhere I could get a corner in the studio at the college, it was just heaps of pots of mine standing around. And some of those pots have sort of come back to haunt me. I've sort of seen them recently, and I thought, it must have been a different person that made them. But anyway, and that year came and went. And then there was, I realized, look, my time at college, I was there for 4 years. I need to move on now. And there was this sort of small ceramic, say, company in Paarl called Clay for Africa that was owned by Tertius and Virginia Spies. And say about 3 kilometers from where the college was situated. And they were mainly focusing on doing slipcast type of work with underglazes and selling them all over the Cape Winelands, very sort of tourist-based type of work, African motifs. And they offered this type of thing where, because they knew Ralph, and they offered an opportunity for any of his old students that finished and just wanted to step out of college and needed a place to go and work, but still be in Paarl and sort of close to Ralph. And we had to pay a small fee, and you could rent a small little space, and I could put my wheel there, and they had kilns. And so beginning 2006, I started working there, and they also got a lot of orders from various clients, and things like throwing chimney pots and garden pots and stuff. All that type of work came to me, and I could also make my own work and started selling that. And the first time I did the Rondebosch Potter's Market was November 2005. So some of the work that I've been making during that year, I obviously took there and sold a few things, and it was okay, but obviously, needed to build a client base. And that was, I think, 19 years ago. And then 2006, I was in Paarl. It was a difficult year because there was lots of things going on, and I had a struggle figuring out what I should do or what I should make or not make. But I was convinced I'm going to be a potter. Luckily, I wasn't at a point where I was thinking, this isn't going to work, maybe this or that. I knew it wasn't going to work for some time, and I was like broke the whole time. And other friends of mine that just finished the year before, 2 years before, that started with me, like financial management or whatever. These guys were driving around to company cars, and I was driving a Nissan old Datsun 1400 bucky. So, but it's fine. And by October 2006, I realized, look, I think my time in Paarl has come to an end. I didn't know that I was able to withstand another summer. I did 4 or 5 summers there. It was like really hot. So I realized that I needed to come back to our farm. And by that point, I've already bought a wheel and a small little, I think a 6 cubic foot electric kiln that I'm still using today as a test kiln. And from somebody in Bredasdorp, a lady had stopped doing pottery, and the stuff was fairly new. So it was already here on the farm. And then December 2006, I packed up everything in Paarl and I came back. And I was going to start my own studio here where nobody knew who I was, and everyone, because it's a big farming community, people had heard about this guy that's now going to start a pottery studio were like frowning upon it and say, well, when you're going to get a real job or whatever. So anyway, and I just started working. I just started making work and just continued making. And the only thing that I could do at that point was to still go to the Potter's Markets March and November. So this was 2007. And I just started working. I just started producing more and more work. And but if you work at that rate, obviously you will quickly have a lot of stock standing around if you can't get it sold, obviously. And it's all sold now, but it was standing around for quite some time. And I just started working and developing. And then I also had a sign put up next to the road because we live right in the middle of Bredasdorp in Arniston. And I had a sign made and put it up next. I think Easter 2007, the sign was put up just a few days before Easter weekend. And suddenly cars started stopping outside my little studio because I was in a smaller place on the farm where I'm now, and they had a little showroom, and suddenly these people started walking in and they said, oh, we see it's a pottery studio. And I was flabbergasted, and I sold quite a few things, and I thought, well, okay, maybe it might just work, And over the years, I've had many people stop by on their way to Arniston, and I've sold quite well from here also. And then also what started happening by going to the Potter's Markets, I started building up a client base, and also I've met some of my best clients that I'm still supplying with the work there. And many people say they don't go to the March market because it's not so great. They go only into November, which is understandable because it's people buy for Christmas and lots of weddings going on in December, or people go overseas and all that. But I've gathered my best clients, funny enough, at the March markets. People that I think go there in March, restaurant owners and chefs, and knowing winter might be a bit quiet, they would go to the March market and they would source people or potters there to make work, so you can start working on that during winter. And when the season starts, September, October, you're ready. So that's something I found. And many of those people I'm still supplying with work now, and I've met them maybe 2009, 2011 or whatever. So that's been quite interesting. So I always say to anyone, if you can, go to both, because my sales are better in November but not, there's not such a difference that I wouldn't go March. I would just sort of say that. And yeah, so by 2011, I thought, well, maybe I should contact Rust-en-Vrede and ask them if there's any chance that I can do a solo exhibition there. And they said yes, amazingly enough. So I did my first solo there in 2011, which was called Dinner Time. And yeah, I was amazed. I sold some work and a lot of people came and it was good. And I asked Ralph Johnson, I think fittingly, to do the opening speech, and he did it very good. And suddenly 2 years went by and I did my second one there in 2013, Cutting Edges. And then suddenly 6 years went by. A lot of stuff happening in between. And I did my third solo in 2019 at Rust-en-Vrede, and the fourth one is on now, obviously. Yeah, in between, I think what has happened is, if I should categorize it to a certain extent, is that polish market is a big income, but you have to do more. So I found through the years that agreeing to orders is a good way forward, because that is ultimately what puts the food on the table. But also doing exhibitions like at Rust-en-Vrede and at other galleries, because it really does help a lot. And I think it's a difference between your sort of bread and butter line and doing work for exhibitions, but the quality must be the same always. I don't think you should make a mug for a restaurant and think less of it than a big pot that you can sell for 20,000 Rand in a gallery. So yeah, I think that's just quickly in a nutshell. So I've been here since 2007 up to this present point, and over the years we've extended my studio. I started in a small little room at the back of the house, my parents' house, and then I worked in the garage for 2 years. And then in 2009 we started building the first section of my studio, and then in 2010 another section, and in 2012 we joined the two sections. And in 2017, when I got the big gas kiln from David Walters that went to Nico Liebenberg, and then from Nico to me, we had to extend the studio. So it's been built over a number of years, but I think it's okay for now. So the next step is to maybe build on a little section for the wood firing kiln, which is also now in the process of hopefully getting going rather sooner than later. Yeah, so Rika, that's sort of quickly in a nutshell. So if you have any questions now, more specific or whatever, you can ask. I can go on and on, but I know it's going to then become maybe too detailed. So
well, what I've done is I've just flashed through a couple of the first photos
yeah
that you've given me. And then what we'll do is we'll start with the photos of the section that you worked with Nico Liebenberg. Maybe if you want to expand on that, we'll get to that section in a moment. I'm just flipping through some of your particular work in your style.
Yeah, so it's interesting where we are now, 2024. I met David Walters in 2004, David, Michelle, and their daughter Sarah. They were still living in Franschhoek at that point. So obviously, when I would drive from Paul back to Predator, then I would obviously stop by most of the times and just visit them. And so we became quite good friends. And I met Nico also in 2004, a few months after that. And I really became good friends with both Nico and the Walters family. And yeah, which has been very good. And it's obviously sad that both David and Nico aren't here anymore. So Nico, especially, we became quite good friends. I see you've got some photos there of his studio now.
Yes, if you want to talk us through that, Martin.
Yeah, so we met, like I said, 2004, became good friends. And then Nico used to do the Grahamstown Festival for many years. And he called me in 2006 and asked if I would look after his house while he's away for 3 weeks in Grahamstown. I said, yes, well, I would, I don't mind, because I was still in Paul then. It was my last year in Paul, 2006. And he said, well, I can't pay you. I said, it's fine. He said, but I can work, live in his house for 3 weeks and I can work in his studio. And when he comes back, then we can do a reduction firing, because he knew I was sort of into that. And yeah, I made it work, and we did the same thing in 2007. So that 3 weeks, I made enough work to fill a kiln. He had a 15 cubic foot gas kiln, and I went home and obviously went back a month or so later when everything was dry, and we bisque fired it, and then I stayed and we glazed and did the gas firing. So I had some experience with Nico. with reduction firing. And we did the same thing in 2012. That photo you can see there now. That was the last time I was actually involved in a reduction firing, so it's 12 years ago. So I'm quite keen to get going with this kiln of David Walters now. But yeah, me and Nico became very good friends, and I think the way I've been taught in Paul was Ralph's approach is very sort of, was focused on thin porcelain and more conceptual, more artistic pieces and all sort of one-off. Where Nico, that was an eye-opener for me because he was a vigorous production potter. And he showed me how to take 15 to 20 kilos of stoneware and throw a bowl in 10 or 12 minutes, and it's like 40 centimeters wide or something. And I thought, well, that's something to aspire to. And also of David Walters. And David was throwing the same thing and even bigger with porcelain, like this thin. So I thought that's something to aspire to, So I was very fortunate at that point in my life to be able to be there in Paul and have Nico and David living so close that I could just drive to them 20 minutes, half an hour, and they always welcomed me into the studio. And you would think you would only stop by for 10 minutes, and it always turned into coffee and then lunch. And then David started putting out old photo albums of when they live in England and, and all this. So, it was an amazing time. And they always were very open to me being there, and they just gave information. I never really had to ask. They were just giving, because I think maybe at some point they realized, okay, I think this Martin guy is going to stick it out. He's going to continue because it's like never ending. And so they just sort of started giving me lots of information that's so, you can't get it anywhere else than from a person that's been doing this 30, 40, 50 years, And that's been amazing. And also I've been to David and Berkey and Felicity Potter and Swart Dam also a lot, and they've also been very, very kind to me. I always go there and I say, look, I don't want to bother you. And no. And Felicity would come out and say, look, is it coffee or tea? And then I know it's going to be 3 hours. And we would sit there and talk. And then suddenly, look, I have to get going. So they've also been very open to me. And I've learned a lot from them also. So, I've been very fortunate to have met these people. And also because Ralph knows Digby, he organized a trip for me there in 2005. So I flew up to Johannesburg and I stayed with him in Penny in the house in Midrand for a week. And he taught me how to make the big pots. And he showed me how he made one, and he had me make also one on his other wheel. And he only attached the rim on that pot. And you'll see a bit later in the photos, there's a few photos of us at his studio, which was in 2018. I went back there to do a workshop there. CSA invited me to do one, and there's a photo of me standing with Digby, and he has a photo in his hands of his kiln and pots, and he showed me that pot that I made 13 years prior, and he fired a pot and it was actually sold. So it was interesting how it all worked out. And me and Ralph, we talk once a month, sometimes twice a month. We're still on the phone. I ask him things, or we just sort of call and say, look, how are you doing? And just checking and whatever. So I'm very fortunate. There's photos of me and Digby now, to have met these people. And also when David retired, and Nico, there's the photo of me and Digby with the pot. And also when David retired, he gave me just a lot of stuff. And I actually have his old Pugmore. And also Nico, when he moved from Paul to Sedgefield, he just gave me a lot of stuff that he said, look, I'm not going to use it again. You're welcome to take it. And he actually gave me 1,000 bricks also for the wood firing kiln. So these things are all standing around, and hopefully I will get going very soon to get it done, to get going. Yeah.
Martin, ons kom nou by die, we reaching the photos of your exhibitions at the gallery. I don't know if you want to talk us through that part.
Yeah, so that's the cutting edges. That was in 2013. So basically, what I did was I would just sort of cut away at the rims to alter the shape. And I was sort of focused on volcanic glazes, amongst others. And I must say, all those 3 previous exhibitions, Henny Meyer, that lives quite close to Rust-en-Vrede, always very graciously came and offered to help me to curate and set up. And that was the one in 2019, which is X marks the spot. So the X is a Roman 10, and that meant 10 years that I've been working full-time after I studied. it was delayed a few years. It would have been 2016, and suddenly 3 years went by, but we eventually got it done. So you can see on the floor there, you have 10 by 10 jugs. Those little jugs that I've always made, and at the back is those bowls that I always do the chopstick impression, 10 by 10, so 100 of each, and then a lot of work on the sides. So to capture the sort of 10 idea, and David Walters actually did the opening for me at that exhibition, which was quite wonderful that he came. That's also the cutting edges, and there's Henny helping to set up. That was 2013. Those, yeah. I was fairly younger then. That plate is a plate with the lyrics of the musician and singer Koenie de Villiers, Afrikaans musician, and I did an exhibition in Wellington in 2021 that was about the Karoo, and I know Koenie sings about the Karoo a lot, and also he sings about Nababi, where I was born, in one of his songs. And I suddenly got this idea one day I should maybe think of some people's music that I like, and there's me and Annelie and Koenie, and contact them and ask if I can be allowed to use some of their lyrics on my ceramics. And he said, yes, absolutely. So I did it, and he actually came down and he did a show. So it was amazing to have some of the ceramics on display with these lyrics, and he did a show at the exhibition's opening, which is quite nice to have. And that's something I'm definitely going to do a bit more of. I've got 4 or 5 other people in the country that agreed that I can do it. I've contacted them, like Lorica Rauch and other few people. Very Afrikaans, obviously. I've never been too much into Afrikaans music, but there are some really good guys going around. That's a photo of David Walters. That was the last opening of an exhibition he had at his studio in Franschhoek. This was October 2018, and I was asked to take part, which was wonderful for me. And he actually went to sit behind the wheel and he threw a big porcelain bowl as part of the opening. He said maybe just do that instead of just doing a speech. And there was quite a number of people. And it wasn't long after that he got the property sold, and he moved to Newlands and he started living there. So yeah, that was I think it's a few photos next of me and him, and Henny was also there. Henny and Ilian came. That's some of my tea bowls and some of my bowls there next to Sarah's work. Some of Chris O'Giles's copyright pots, and there's me and Henny. Some of my tea bowls, and me and Henny and David. So that was the last photo I had with David, unfortunately. And yeah, it was hot that day. It was, I think, October or November. Unfortunately, the last time I got a photo of David, but it was a memorable event. And after that, he started selling off stuff, and I got some equipment, especially the Pog Mill, which is a life changer or game changer for me. That was November 2018 Nationals at Rust-en-Vrede, pre-COVID, obviously. And that was the first and last time I ever won an award for ceramics. It's a merit award, and I got a photo of Kate Malone from the Great Throwdown. So yeah, interesting times. And yeah, the next photo, I think you were of the jugs.
Yeah. Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah. Yes. That was the exhibition in 2022, beginning of 2022. It was sort of idea I had. I talked to Ralph, my old teacher, and I said, look, maybe we should do an exhibition where you and some of your old students connect again and do an exhibition. And we said yes. So we did jugs. So it was me and Kate van Putten and Alessandro Papara, and then Ralph and Hannes van Sail. And I remember it was a strange time because we, as you can see, still wearing masks. It was in February. It was incredibly hot, and our newborn baby was like 7 days old. So I looked probably sleepy there if you would have looked closer, because we weren't sleeping and it was warm, and yeah. So it was a good exhibition, and just connected, and you can see there's Ralph and Hannes and the 3 of us. So yeah, and that's in my studio. It's a few photos of work in progress. I've made many jugs, and I like making jugs, as you can see. You will see them most of the time. And yeah, my focus has always been really sort of on making functional work, and those little jugs I've made a lot of. And those are some tall vases, about 1 meter tall each. Teapots. So I think the reason for making this is, I think the best return for me is if somebody buys a pot of mine and they say to me, well, we use it. Or I've been drinking tea or coffee out of a mug or a tea bowl or something for the past 10 years every morning before work, or my children has their cereal in the morning out of one of your bowls, or every time we have a dinner party, we use one of your plates. So it's not about me really, it's about the pot's journey, I think, continuing after it's been sold and it's left my studio or whatever. So I think if it's made to be used and you can use it, I think that's the ultimate goal, is that somebody likes to use it to serve food in, or to eat or to drink out of.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
those are just sort of my...
what I'll do is I want to just share with you the catalog of the current exhibition. Hamlin, are you still with us? I just want to see if Hamlin is still with us. I just want to share with you the catalog that we have. Hamlin, can you hear us? Are you still with us? Martin, miskien as jy vir ons if you want to discuss us or take us through this exhibition.
Yes, so what I thought with this exhibition was to do maybe a retrospective type of exhibition. And the main idea behind it is there's 22 vases for each year that I've been doing ceramics since 2002 up to the current moment. And what I've tried to capture on each of those vases is what I've learned in that specific year. So if the first vase obviously starts with 2002, and on that vase will only be slips and graffito patterns, just lines that I've made, because that's what I've been taught in my first year. And then the second vase, 2003, will also have slips and graffito, but with glaze over, because that's something I did a lot in that year. And in 2003, second year, we also started really focusing on glazes and glaze chemistry. And 2004, for instance, third year, the glaze on the top of that vase is a glaze that I developed in that year, first time that I've used a lot. So I think if anybody knows my work, they would know it for that sort of gray-blue glaze that really sort of pools nicely in any texture or sprigs or whatever you have, and so forth and so on. So it goes on like that. Those are the first two. So and I thought I would like to make this shape and keep a uniform shape all throughout, and a neck, so normal pot shape and a neck, and attach handles, and just to sort of break out of my usual mold, if I can put it that way, in terms of making, because I've always been very sort of focused on functional work, and you need to have a very proper handle you can use. And I thought I'm just going to play with these handles on these. And as you can see, they're a bit different than what I usually do. So apart from these 22 vases, there's some jugs and some bigger pots. And then also in the other corner, when you walk around the whole exhibition, there's two, what I would call moon jars or vases. That's a bit different from the rest. They are glazed, but it's not really functional glazes. It's more decorative pieces. And the idea behind this exhibition, I think this pot in the left corner, you can see that the pot, those two I'm referring to now, more decorative than I would usually do. And I thought to myself, I think the idea behind the exhibition was the first section is showing what I've done and where I've been and where I'm now. But these pots are hopefully showing a new direction that I would like to head in. And I think I've come to this point now, after 22 years of doing lots and lots of orders, and I've literally made thousands of pots. And I'm happy to say I've sold them, and of which the most was for orders. And I think I'm at a point now where I would like to focus more on these bigger pots that like the one you see now, either decorative or functional. This pot is a functional pot. You can plant something in it, or you can put water in. And the two vases in the corner there are more direction I would like to go in, trying different things in terms of slips and decoration, not so focused on making functional work. But it's a balance I need to get, because I can't just stop making functional work or just stop doing orders, because the orders are, what get the money going, if I can say it like that. And I've always thought I shouldn't make too much bigger pots because people aren't buying them. It's difficult to get them sold. But I must say I've been surprised again this past few weeks in terms of sales at the Rust-en-Vrede of people buying the bigger pots actually. So it's good, and it's a good indication that I really should maybe focus on doing that and explore them. And especially if I can get this gas kiln going and the wood firing kiln, I think they would look wonderful with ash like that pot. That's electric fired, but to get them going in ash and tomokos and celadons and so forth. So the exhibition tells a story of where I've started and what I've done and what I would like to keep doing, but I would also like to head into a new direction. But also, I would just like to say that if I get the gas kiln going and the wood firing, I wouldn't just stop making my normal oxidation fired work, because I've just spent the past 20 years on developing those glazes. So, and many people say it looks wood fired or reduction fired, which it isn't. And I've never tried to imitate those glazes. I just do what I do, and it seems to look that way. And I think something that does happen is the type of glaze that Ralph makes and the way that he taught me, those glazes that he does on porcelain. When you do them on a stoneware body or like that, a black or a stoneware body with manganese or a stoneware body with a lot of iron or 5% earthenware, and you fire them high enough, like 8, 9 electric, you get the iron reacting nicely with the glazes. And that's why sometimes I think it looks like reduced work, which it isn't. And also, all 4 of those tables that you see there has specific glazes under them. Or, well, they've got 2. There's one glaze, and then there's another glaze that I apply over. So the base glazes might be different for all of them, or the green, or the brown blue on the 2 on top, but there's a specific white glaze that's just plain white on its own. But the moment you apply that over any other glaze, it really does amazing things. And there's soda ash in that glaze, and as we know, soda ash is soluble in water. So what I've learned, that if you have soda ash in a glaze, when you apply the glaze in a pot, you essentially unmix the glaze, because the soda ash sort of moves outside and forms a crust on the outside. So it doesn't disappear, because it can't disappear with the water into the thin air. So it stays in the pot. So if my analysis is correct, the soda ash that melts gives that sort of shiny iron foot that you sometimes see on my pots that looks wood fired. And it isn't. I think it's due to the soda ash that does that, and it forms that crust on the outside. And it still melts, so it reacts with the other glaze materials, but it sort of gets a little bit unmixed, if I can say it like that. So that's why it happens sometimes, and that's why I think it has that look on some of the pots that I do use that glaze on.
Hamlin, I see you back with us. I don't know if you would like to interrupt Martin here from the gallery side. I've been flipping through the pictures of your catalog. It's just so beautifully put together.
Yes, that is thanks to Donovan, my colleague, who's done beautiful work on this catalog, and doesn't harm to have beautiful artworks to display. Makes it so much easier. We are very pleased to have another exhibition with Martin. It's always a pleasure working with him. He is such a professional artist and creates such beautiful artworks. Yeah, it's always a pleasure working with you, Martin.
Thank you. Same to me too.
Hamlin, I see there's quite a huge, diverse group of pots, in size, from your utility pieces, the tea bowls, to the large vases, and even those very large pieces that Martin's made. And I see there's sales all over. It's incredible.
Yes, like Martin said, we are very pleased that some of the larger pieces sold as well, because it has been a very difficult time this year, in particular, with sales, especially of the more expensive pieces. But people know quality when they see it, and Martin's price range is still extremely affordable for the amount of work that goes into one of those pieces. It's really remarkable, and I think people know when it's a good deal when they see it. It's exquisite, and also because not a lot of ceramic artists can throw that big. You don't often see pieces of that large scale. And like I said again, with Martin's prices being extremely affordable, it's a no-brainer.
Martin, you were saying that you're considering doing more larger pieces. Will that now be for your wood fire or for the gas kiln? It sounds very exciting.
Yes, interesting. 20 years ago, when I met David Walters the first time, was also, I think, in March 2004, and it was also very hot, Franschhoek, while that started time of year. And I drove there with a friend of mine, and I met him, and then he took me into the kiln room, and he showed me that kiln, and I thought, I didn't even know these type of things exist, because we had 2 small electric kilns at the college. And Ralph actually had a small top loader gas kiln, which we fired a few times. And that was really my first introduction to reduction firing. Really as a sort of a test kiln, but I still have some mugs and stuff that I made during that time. And I saw the kiln at David's place, and never in a million years would I ever have thought that kiln would now be standing with me. So it's been an amazing journey how it came about to be here. And I still have to measure. I think it's 60 cubic foot, so it's definitely big enough to have maybe those big pots on this photo. I can maybe get in free, and then obviously lots of smaller works in between. So I definitely plan to do that. And also the thing is, it's a trolley kiln. I've been loading these big pots into my front loader electric kiln, and I'm turning 42 in 2 days. She's still young, but I feel my back. And David Walters has actually, I would like to say, reprimanded me a few times. He said to me, "You have to look at your back."
Mm-hmm.
He said he went to a chiropractor in Franschhoek every 6 months, and I've never been to one. My father had a big back operation in 2020 beginning, just before lockdown, and I know of a number of other people, and I've been picking up, and those pots weigh about 60 kilos, and I picked 60 kilos up on my own, and you bend forward. And then I would say to myself, I would rather hurt my back than to break the pot. So I've never broken one. When I put them into the kiln, I'm usually alone, so nobody can watch me while I'm doing it, because I know I look awkward doing it. But my back, I'm feeling it now, where the gas kiln is a trolley kiln. So that's going to be making a big difference. That's also a big reason why I haven't been making them. I can make them, but to fire them in my kiln is difficult to move them. And also David Walters, Tesla Habersky has a type of machine somebody built for him where he can pick them up off the wheel, which is very genius. I need to get the number from that same man. It's a farmer closest where I am, so that I can pick them up when I'm going to grow older, or now even. And Digby has a whole pulley and tackle system in his studio's roof. He hoists pots up, and he just walks with them in the air, and he lets them down onto the trolley, which is the efficient way to make them. So there's a big thing about throwing pots and people taking 20 kilos and social media, and you pull up this thing, and it's all wonderful. But you have to keep in mind shape and what are you making. And it's easy to impress people on social media, and we don't have to go down that rabbit hole now, but when you stand next to the pot, sometimes you can see it looks amazing on social media, but I think the pot itself needs to speak for itself, and you need to consider shape and design and what are you making. And then once you've made a pot, how are you going to glaze that? And how will you lift that pot off and put it onto the wheel without hurting yourself or breaking, the pot or whatever? And then firing it is a different thing. And when I went to Digby, he raw glazes and fires them in one go to cone 13 or 14, So I thought that's some skill level to glaze them while they're still raw. And you have to glaze them while they're quite dry, because of the glaze, and when the glaze in the pot shrinks, the glaze might peel off. So you can't just glaze them when it's leather hard, And then he lifts them up, put them into the kiln, and he fires them. So you essentially do your bisque and your glaze in one go. So the knowledge of glaze and firing, really, I thought it's amazing. And he actually has 4 of Isha Boss's oil burners in his kiln. And also, but there was the Habersky in Swart, he bisque fires these big pots. So, each to his own. I like both ways. I would like to go to the direction of raw glazing them, and because I would like to avoid bisque firing them in the gas kiln. And then I'm back to square one, because then I have to anyway load them into my electric kiln to bisque fire them. So, so if I can get to a place where I can raw glaze them, and then right from the wheel is standing next to the trolley where the trolley stops, I can just put them on there, and yeah, that's it. I don't mind bisque firing smaller works, but I think for them to go there, but you need some skill level and knowledge for that. And Yogi the Beer and Sarah Walters are going to come and help me to set up the kiln and do the first firing. And I'm grateful for them. And on the side of that kiln, on the sort of refractory material, is David Walters' handwriting back to 1991, 92, 93, when he fired a kiln. I think when I was still in England. And you can see him writing there, good, lousy, good reduction, whatever. And then the kiln went to Nico Liebenberg in 2008, I think, when David got a smaller gas kiln. And then Nico continued. He wrote there a few times when he fired the kiln. So I would like to, and that was 20 years ago when I saw the kiln the first time, and I would like to do a firing before the end of this year, sort of, I don't know, commemorate that moment and just everything about it, and also hopefully be able to write there with my handwriting 2024 and good. You know, it was a good reduction. So that's the plan. And hopefully, I can't guarantee, but hopefully launch that first batch of produced work at the November's Potter's Market, which is around the corner. So I'm busy getting prepared for that. So that's the plan. I hope it will work out. I have all the equipment and gas and everything. So I just need a few more gas pipes, and then Yogi and them needs to come, and we going to set it up. And I'm busy making work, and Bianca Bernstein and Sarah has very generously offered to fire some test tiles in their kilns, cone 9, cone 10, to see what glazes can work for me and what clay I can use. Because I can't fire a 60 cubic foot kiln as a test kiln. You know, once it's going, I need to know this works and that doesn't work. So if I can have a pallet of about 5 to 6 glazes, that would be fine. And I have a lot of trees on the farm, and I've got big bins full of ash that I can use. So I just need to get going and get it done now. So that's the plan.
It's very exciting, Martin. It's like a whole new adventure that you're going to embark on.
Yeah. And I feel once the gas kiln is up and running, we've allocated a spot that will be suitable for the wood firing kiln. Like I said, I've had about 1,000 bricks. I might need a few more. And Yogi also offered to come and help me build a kiln, because that's the same bricks that he and Nico, because he and Nico also worked together a lot in the past, and they did a lot of wood firing. And that's the same bricks they use. So Yogi knows about building kilns. I mean, he's built this big kiln that he's firing out by. So he's offered to come also and help me build the wood firing kiln. Nico would have come, or first David would have come, but I just never got down to firing the gas kiln because life happened, and I got married in between, and our first baby was born, and we had to renovate our house, and then COVID. And Nico would have come, and now both of them aren't here anymore. So Yogi would come, and that knowledge isn't available around every corner to fire those types of kilns, you know. And then also, hopefully, I can get the wood firing going. And I know of a lot of people that would love to come and help to fire the kiln. So, and I have an endless supply of wood on the farm, so it all just makes sense. And also with this new finding on our farm that we have a lot of clay. If you dig about this deep, it's just pure terracotta. I've dug up some and I've fired some to cone 6, amazingly enough, without adding anything, no bentonite or wall clay or anything. So I can really sort of focus on maybe doing a lot of garden pots with that. And maybe...
How to make it louder.
Sorry, I'm just muting.
Maybe
yes, continue.
That's fine. Yeah, so maybe making garden pots, maybe trying to make like a type of Albany or Alberta slip like in New York, of my early way, maybe adding some of my ash here, see how that would react at a cone 10, 11 wood firing on pots. So those are all sort of plans. So that's quite a different direction from this electric fired work. And if I say that I'm going to continue making my electric work, I probably know when I'm going to get caught up in reduction and wood firing. I won't be doing too much electric work because it will be difficult, because my electric kiln is also 35 cubic foot, so it's big, you know, to fill that kiln also. But I'm just grateful that I have plans and things lying ahead that I can focus on. It sort of makes me excited, and opportunities and great people that are willing to help me, because I don't have the knowledge yet to do those things on my own. So,
well, you've been blessed to be, you know, so involved with some of the masters that's gone before. What a privilege. And continue with their legacies.
Yeah. The knowledge that David Walters gave me, and even Sarah, we speak weekly. His daughter, I mean, she grew up in his studio, and Yogi and David and Felicity and Swart and Nico, especially Nico, you know. I spend many hours with Nico. Where do you get that? You know, you can't. Yes, there's YouTube and there's many other people, but those older guys, you know, they have a certain approach. And I always sort of thought, look, I'm a bit of a tip of the old block, I suppose. I like that type of work, and also what I saw when I went to all these people was the way they lived, the sort of lifestyle that they lived. I always thought, look, that's the way I would like to live. And it's a slow life, but it's a life of hard work and commitment to make pots and to actually get them sold. Because making them is one thing, but getting them sold is sometimes difficult. So, yeah, to sort of bring the whole thing together with family life. And I'm also a farmer, obviously sheep farmer, and with cattle. So it's a privilege to live on our farm, to have a studio here, and me and my wife and our daughter lives here, and my parents, and also have a supply of clay and wood here, and and people not too far that are willing to help and be involved in everything.
It's incredible. Hamlin, do you want to just take us through the dates of the exhibition? Until when is it on?
Yes, Rika, the exhibition of Martin's currently on will come to an end on Saturday, the 14th of September. So that's the last day to view the exhibition.
Wonderful. So if you haven't seen it yet, you must go. Yeah. The catalog is available. If you want to, I will post the catalog link on ClayChat later as well. But yeah, if there's anybody else who would like, I'm opening it up for discussion and for questions. It doesn't sound like
I would also just like to say quickly that
hello,
Rust-en-Vrede to Hamlin and everyone there. Also a great big thank you, especially this last exhibition. There's a few things going on behind the scenes before the exhibition opened, and we were all sort of scattering around, and just amazing professional work that Hamlin and Donovan and Kelly and Monica Ross and everyone involved there are doing, and they're doing more than is over and above, and very professional. And yeah, so just thank you for having my pots there again.
That's our pleasure, Martin, anytime, you know.
Okay. Cool.
Get ready for a wood-fired exhibition next year, Hamlin.
Yes, we can't wait for that. I'd love to come and see that as well. It sounds super exciting. I've seen the wood firing before, but it's always very interesting.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I just like to say hi, Martin. That was so interesting.
Anne.
Thank you very much, and well done for what you're doing. And as you said, Hamlin and Donovan, and they do amazing stuff. I'd just like to say that we've got quite a lot of your work, which I use every day. Jugs and things. That,
I'm grateful.
And I saw some of the stuff that I recognized, and people have given me as gifts. And it's just so interesting to see your development. But I think for me, one of the most important things is your teachers, people like Ralph Johnson, and there's a quality of professionalism in your work, and people like Henny and David Walters and all those old masters. There's a professionalism and finish that a lot of work today, you don't always find that, and that's what people recognize and respond to and buy, because it's quality, you know. I think you seem to have taken that on board enormously, apart from all the other things. And I think that's fantastic what you're doing. And to hear you talk about Nico, whom I didn't actually know personally, but David, of course, I knew. And I remember that exhibition, that very last exhibition with him throwing.
Yeah,
I actually
yeah.
photographs of it. It was just so poignant. It was amazing.
Mm.
And just wonderful what you're doing, and continue to do it. And very interesting about your wood firing. I also look forward.
Thank
I'll
you.
have to come up to. We don't live in D'Urberville anymore. I'll have to come up and see your exhibition.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Anne, very much.
But it's been really, really interesting listening to you, and all good luck to you. Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's for now.
Thank you, Anne. Anybody else who would like to something or questions for Martin? Martin, I think for me, what is interesting is that the recipes that you've developed, the knowledge that you have to put them together, you probably would need to just slightly adapt for the reduction firing in a gas or even use the same glazes in those kilns. So that might not have to take another 20 years to develop.
No. Yeah, I think when we started out, the cottage Ralph was a cone 8. So everything was fired to cone 8. And so when I got out of there, I was continuing cone 8. But I realized at some point it's just a bit out of control. So I took it down to cone 7 eventually. And I'm actually now on cone 6, electric. And now it's a bit dry, maybe. So I would do a cone 6 down, sort of cone 10 past. But that sort of seems okay. But for the gas kiln, we're gonna need to go to cone 9, 10, but then I would just have to tweak the glazes slightly, you know, add more refractory or less flux and see what happens.
Yes.
And I know that David and Nico gave me some of their recipes many years ago that I've used it, that I say, look, you can use it. So, but it will definitely be interesting to see some of my glazes in reduction, and to see what it does, and even in wood firing. But although the wood, I would like to really focus on maybe just sort of, you know, glaze the inside and have the ashes on the outside. I would like to see what that does. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, obviously, with these things, to see what's going to happen.
Well, we look forward to all the new things that you are attempting and new avenues you are exploring. So yes, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing your history. And I hope that in 20 years, somebody's going to talk about you, how you've trained and shared your knowledge for a next generation. Because that, I think, is
also... Yeah, I'm always open. Whenever anybody asks me something, if I can, I would give it to you any day of the week, because then I always remember how those guys, not for a moment, said no, never. They just opened up, which is sort of, without really asking, they said, look, do you want this? I said, well, are you giving it away? I said, yes. Are you sharing it? Yes, I will. I want it. So I've made many notes and I've taken lots of photos. It's all on my computer. And yeah, just sort of have that knowledge, because if I think about younger people or people my age or whatever, just starting out now, because I started out when I was 19, and I see what they're sort of going through. I don't want to be a busybody or know-it-all, but if I can help you, or if you ask me, I would any day have to give you any information, because I know it is tough. It's going better now, but the first few years was really tough, and you make terrible mistakes. And I've spoken to somebody else the other day. I said, look, if you can avoid these 10 things, you can save a lot of money, and you can have a bigger success rate. And one of them is to use the proper kiln wash on your shelves. That helps a lot. Kiln wash makes a big difference. Let me tell you, it makes life enjoyable. So, so that, and things you just, if you don't know those things, you're going to just fire pots onto the plain kiln shaft and it's going to stick in it or why or whatever. So, a lot of small things that can make a big difference.
Once you set up, and maybe we should talk about having a residency there, maybe to do some workshops together for skill sharing and development.
Yes, I've done lots of workshops here. I've had 5 last year. Some of them is just for one. day, some 2, some 3 days. I haven't done any this year because we've been very busy with, I've been doing a lot of orders and working for the exhibition, but hopefully next year again. So if anybody wants to come, they're welcome. Yeah, I would love to